Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice little 4-game Major League Baseball slate. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Really helps the channel a lot, really do appreciate it. Let's check out the weather real quick. This is a small slate. We do have some concern in the Chicago-Philadelphia game. There's some chance of a delay, but it is low. So I do think it will be fine, but you do want to check that closer to slate. All right, so in a small slate like this, we're just going to try to find home runs and things like that. So let's go ahead and get into our pitchers here. So Aaron Nola is the top overall play at the pitching position, though he's not a must play. He has struggled some lately, but he does have a good enough ceiling, and he's priced pretty fairly today, so he's definitely a solid matchup option on this slate. Hunter Brown also looks decent for Houston, though I do like a couple Seattle bats. I do think he has some upside here, though he has had a couple struggle games the last two. That said, he's had 3 games against Seattle, averaging 19 fantasy points a game this season, and he's got one of the better strikeout rates on the slate, and that gives him some utility here. Rodriguez is also very interesting, and he's dirt cheap today. He has some upside here as he's had some good games lately. The strikeout stuff is the big concern because he doesn't often get a whole lot of strikeouts, but the last 2 games he has. I do think he's a capable option today against San Francisco, but I do like some San Francisco bats, so do keep that in mind. Chris Bassett is kind of an extreme GPP play today, as he does have some nice upside, but he has a low floor, high ceiling, and he's got a decent K rate in a tough match against Boston. 2 boomer bust plays, Tanner Hoke and Bryce Miller. Boomer bust plays are much more risky, so you kind of avoid those guys for the most part, but unless you're going to go super crazy and big time GPPs. And then Hayden Birdsong for San Francisco is a Hail Mary play today against Arizona, though I do like some Arizona bats. The other pitchers, Wesinski and Pearson, are both for the Cubs, and they're avoidable as Philly is one of the best teams to stack on the slate by a lot. Let's look at our catchers here. So Cal Raleigh does jump off the page as a decent option today. Now, Raleigh has had some ups and downs this season, but he definitely has home run potential, high risk, high reward play, and we do like the pitcher in that game. Okay, for them and Browns, so he's not a must play, but he's definitely capable of a decent game. JT Realmuto also looks very interesting today. I think he's in a good spot here, priced well, and has some nice upside at this position. The ownership here will be Cal Raleigh, Alejandro Kirk, who's a little bit cheaper for Toronto, and then JT Realmuto. Looking at first base, Bryce Harper is expensive, but he's capable and has a lot of big games on his plate. He's definitely capable of a monster game here while he tries to get his 30th home run of the year. Christian Walker, though, looks a little bit better and safer and cheaper. He has hit the ball inconsistent throughout the season, but he does have some good home run potential today, so he's definitely worth a look. The ownership here will be Bryce Harper, Tristan Casas, Mark Canha, and Christian Walker. Obviously, I do like Walker and Harper the best of the 4 there. Looking at second base, we do like Keto Marte, though he is expensive. He does have a lot of home run upside today, though, so he's definitely worth a look. And he's had 3 straight games with home runs, and he's been hitting monster games. However, we do want to look at Casey Schmidt now. He can play second or third base, so you can mix in a more expensive player around him. But he does have really good metrics today, and he's dirt cheap, and he helps you pay up at other positions. He's also capable of that multi-position at second or third base, so you can kind of fit him into either one. He will be relatively high owned, though, so to keep that in mind. Jose Altuve also looks decent today for Houston, though he's not a must-play. He's a good value option at this position, and he's been hitting the ball pretty good lately. Bryson Stott is kind of a guy that I don't usually like him too much, but he does occasionally look good on paper, and today is one of those days. So he's definitely worth a look, though he is high risk, high reward. Looking at the ownership here, Keto Marte, Bryson Stott, Romy Gonzalez, and Casey Schmidt. Looking at third base, obviously Casey Schmidt can fit here as well. But Vlade Jr. For Toronto looks very interesting here. Even though he can also play at first base, doesn't look as good there because there's too many good guys, but he does look as the top option at this position. Meanwhile, Matt Chapman also looks decent for San Francisco, but he's not a must play, but he does have home run potential today. And then Casey Schmidt, who I already mentioned, can fit here. Looking at the ownership, Matt Chapman, Alec Boom, Romy Gonzalez, and Casey Schmidt again. Looking at shortstops, Trey Turner has fantastic upside today, though he hasn't been hitting the home runs throughout the year as much as I thought he would. He does have some good hitting metrics today, so he's definitely worth a look. Tyler Fitzgerald, though, is a nice value option for San Francisco. And if you don't use the cheap pitcher here, then stacking up, San Francisco does look pretty interesting today, and Fitzgerald has some nice metrics on the slate. And then Geraldo Perdomo for Arizona looks phenomenal today as well. He has some good hitting metrics, and he's hitting the ball pretty well the last few games. The ownership will be the same with Trey Turner, Tyler Fitzgerald, Geraldo Perdomo. So going chalky at this position, definitely probably a wise thing to do. Looking at outfielders, so Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, if he plays, Corbin Carroll, and Jaron Duran are the top 4 overall plays at this position. But we do have some nice value plays, and we'll just go through these here. Julio Rodriguez for Seattle. He does have a tough matchup against Brown, but I do think he has home run potential late in the game. Jock Peterson for Arizona looks interesting at $4,600. Jake McCarthy looks really good at $4,000 here. I do think Arizona is a team you definitely want to get some guys on. And then Heliot Ramos for San Francisco is also $4,000. Nicely priced guys there in outfield that have a lot of potential today. The ownership, Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez, Masataka Yoshida, Jake McCarthy, and Randy Orozania. And secondary, Jaron Duran, Jordan Alvarez, Heliot Ramos, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, and Pavin Smith. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking.